Yeah, we're back on the charts this week.
Oh, perfect. Wait, we went off the charts?
Well, because they only rank from 0 to 300.
Oh.
Ooh. Took a little dip.
So we're back on the
position
charts,
are we?
even though we switched over to the Modify with Trickfactory channel.
Yeah.
It's dedicated channel.
Yeah, but we've lost a lot of views though.
How about
on YouTube?
How are we doing in South Africa?
Oh, we're back up
We're killing it in Durban? Yeah.
number 50 again.
Oh,
So we've moved
we
up a
were
little bit.
killing it in South Africa, man.
Yeah, we were number 4 in South Africa.
Dude. Interesting. Yeah, they love us over there for some reason. I don't get it.
I got a lot of
But
South African fans.
thanks, guys.
Nigeria specifically.
Nigeria thought it's South Africa.
I think you said that last time. I got to work on my geography.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Welcome to another episode of Modify with Trickfactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, my name is Elvis.
Rob.
Tim.
Steve.
Awesome. He's brand new. This is his first time here.
He's our special guest.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a wiring genius. He is amazing at wiring, and he'll tell us about himself later on. But before we get started, if this is your first time watching, welcome to Modify with Trickfactory Customs. We are a custom automotive shop here in British Columbia, Canada. Hence why I'm in full winter wear in December.
Yep.
And Tim is in shorts.
Well, he's from Northern Canada, so
It's like
he
summer
doesn't
right
count.
now.
He's
But-
got shorts and flip flops on too.
Yeah.
You can't see,
When I
but
saw you roll out in the shorts, I was surprised. I was like, dude, it's -5 and you're wearing shorts today.
He never wears
He's a different kind of
pants.
special.
I've never seen him in pants before.
Weddings in court. That's the only time I wear pants.
So yeah. So,
Actually, that's not true. My last wedding, I wore shorts too.
Yeah, they won the war.
It was yours.
I was expecting it. So, but on this podcast, we talk about cars, car modifications, because we build awesome and glorious cars. And yeah, so if this is your first time watching, if you're watching it on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. If you are listening to it on any of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just be sure to give it a rating, 5-star rating, so we can move up in the world of ratings. Today, we're going to be diving into wiring, or not just wiring. I think it's going to be interesting. If you see the thumbnail of this video, it is a blue RX-8 that burned down. And that is kind of like what kicked off this conversation. But we're going to dive into that. And I think I'm going to call it, I'm tired of respecting all builds.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
We got this argument in the way here.
Yeah, because in the car community, you always hear about, oh, this person put so much effort and time and respect all builds and all of that. And I'm a huge advocate for that. But there are some levels that kind of gets thrown out the window, which we are going to dive into. And I think that's pretty much it. But as we get started, what have you guys been up to all week?
well, yeah. I mean, it's been there's been a lot of things going on in the last week since we spoke last about this. We did all the paint booth install stuff. We're still waiting to finalize some of that. So shop upgrades was like paramount. And outside of that, I've been working on a new project car.
Ooh.
It's a full custom Thunderbird. Tim, had designed and had some one-off billet wheels made for it. It's a pretty dope car. It's a behemoth. I'm building a dashboard cluster for it and a
is
center
so
console.
massive.
It's like an ocean liner.
Oh my
I think.
gosh.
Like actually, like it takes up a lot of space. It takes four
Humongous car.
grown men to push that thing around.
Yeah, it's massive. I don't even, wait, what year is it?
I think a 70.
70.
Gosh.
No, I think it's got to be later than that. It's got to be mid-70s.
No.
Man,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
thinking
74.
emissions
I'm thinking
after
like
emissions started.
It's,
close to mid 70s, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's boxy. It's meh.
The hood's
But
8 feet long.
It's so
Yeah.
big.
Like actually, you could cut probably solid 24 inches out of the length of that car and still have
Still
a
be
big car.
Yeah. It'd still be a huge
Yeah.
car.
And even the door is massive. Like just to open the door, it's a 2-door. But the door is like from here to that door over there. It's so long.
It's very pimpy,
So-
I think.
But otherwise, I mean, it's
guy
actually
spent some money
it's
on it.
it's pretty
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. It's not my jam, but the dude loves it, and so we're sprinkling a little bit of love on it, and he's into it. So
It looks-
all I'm
that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
And then what about you, Tim?
Chasing motors all week. I went on a
Okay.
big adventure. We got our big
Oh,
blown
yeah.
Wagner motor. That's
right.
We got our Revolt motors.
Yeah.
So it was like cross-country adventure, sleeping
Cool.
in the van with a couple $100,000 in
You slept in the
engines.
van? I didn't know you slept in the van.
I wasn't letting those things out of my sight, man.
So
That's like a career ender if those got stolen.
Yeah,
so.
because
Twice.
Revolt has had their
our first
stolen.
original 2 Revolt motors were stolen from SEMA. So this time I was not taking any chances. So
Yeah.
it was a long week for me, but we have them all back here. So now we get to jump off some really cool projects that we've been
Hallelujah.
teasing about and yakking about forever. They're actually finally going to start going down.
So what motors or what builds, just highlights, what are they?
Well, the Wagner, the blown 427 is for the Skylark project, and then the 2 Revolt motors, one's for a 66 Defender, and the other one's for a 2-door G-Wagon power top cabriolet. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm so excited
Killer.
about that.
Yeah.
it'll be pretty fun.
yeah, and we just got big news on that one too. So that one's gonna be special.
Oh, okay. So if you want to see what we're talking about, if you're watching this on YouTube or even if you're listening to it on podcast, we have a dedicated YouTube channel where we document all our builds. So you can head over there. It's just Trickfactory Customs on YouTube. Yeah, like and subscribe. Yes.
Yes,
So
please.
with that said, what have you been up to, Steve?
I was up in Salmon Arm doing some wiring work for a little TV show that gets filmed up there.
Oh,
We're not allowed to know the name.
I was with the guys from Rust Bros, working with Mike and them.
okay.
So I did a project for them for the season that they're filming right now.
Awesome.
So I spent the weekend wiring a car for them. And you'll see that one coming up on their season 5, I guess.
Are you going to
And
be on the video or no?
No idea. I worked through the weekend when there's no film crew there.
Oh.
So I don't know if I'll actually be in. I was a little bit there Monday when they were filming, but I don't know if anything will be.
Yeah, this isn't the first time you've done like
It's the second car I've done with them.
like a lot of wiring work and stuff for
what you're
some like
saying is it might actually fire up and drive away.
Wow.
It was funny. and there was the
I don't know if
film
you've
crew-
watched the show before, but
No shots fired.
The film crew was when they showed up Monday and they saw the car, they're like, "Holy crap! We've been working on the show for 5 years, and that's by far the cleanest of any of the wiring that they've ever seen."
oh, and you're like, yes,
They
that's
were like,
right.
"This is too nice for Mike. We need to can we throw the rat's nest back in there and just zip tie it back on the dash?" So
toss
it's
the
like
old harness back on it.
That's
Yeah,
so funny.
it was interesting. It was a fun experience, and Mike's honestly a really solid guy, and he's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
and so I really enjoyed my time there, and so it was fun. But now I'm back at another shop here locally doing a big pro touring build for some guys in Pitt Meadows.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, you work on crazy cars.
It's a lot of fun. I have about 8 different shops that I work with.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Throughout BC and Alberta,
Yeah.
and I get to work on some very cool cars. And
Yeah, not just like custom pro touring hot rod stuff, but you do like crazy high end like race car stuff.
that's where a lot of my clients are drag race stuff.
Yeah.
And it's definitely it's 2 different worlds between wiring a drag car and wiring a street car.
Yeah.
They both have their ups and downs, but they the big pro mod stuff, which I love to do, is really fun and exciting because the
Yeah.
cars are obviously 4,000 or 5,000 horsepower cars. And,
Yeah.
and it's
What?
It's a complete,
So I mean, so either way you look at it, it's like things just need to work. They need to
Yes.
work really well,
and they need to be simple and easy to fix. When
Yeah,
you're at the
so-
racetrack.
and that's why
yeah.
you're our guy.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
We
Traditionally,
like our
you'd
shit
be-
to work.
we would get people like, "Oh, I know a guy who works on race cars." Like to me, normally that would be
Yeah.
Until I met
Usually,
Steve, I'd be like, "Oh man, that does
don't want
not
that
mean
guy.
what you think it means."
You roll through the pits at any given racetrack on a weekend and you look in some of those cars, it is an absolute horrendous
Disaster.
mess. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I've always struggled with the racing part is you have safety rules and regulations for all the chassis stuff.
Yeah.
Seat belts,
Yeah.
helmets, all that stuff. But there is no regulation for wiring,
Is that right?
which is
That's
Insane,
There's no
man.
regulation for wiring.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the one thing that will actually probably likely catch your car
Yeah,
on fire.
exactly.
And it has there's no rule on what you have to use or the only rule for the wiring really is does it shut off when you hit the switch on the back? That is it.
For real, eh?
And beyond that, there's not
They don't
really
care.
any kind of
Man, they might want to step up their game.
Yeah. it's-
Yeah. Pay attention to Steve's work.
Yeah.
That should be standard.
And we are going to be talking a lot about that today. And so, with that said, let us dive into the topic.
All right. All right.
We got to give a little bit of
Give a little bit of
context into the
context.
six.
Yes.
So our previous podcast was on stance
Yes.
and my dislike of stance and all things associated to it. So in the interim, that particular thumbnail that we used for that video, shortly after that, I think 2 or 3 days, people started hitting me up like, hey, like, did you see what happened? Because they assumed that by us using that thumbnail, we were talking specifically about
this
that car,
yeah.
which was not the case. I wasn't even aware. So when people messaged me like, what are you talking about? What RX-8? They're like, oh, the one in your podcast. So because of the image that you used. And then in the interim, this particular car burnt down. So like I was having conversations with
Probably should
people.
be laughing. Sorry.
Yeah. I was having conversations with people on TikTok and this and that, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 don't be a hater, don't this. Like, you got to respect all builds. You're bad for the car community. And then the car burned to the ground. And I was like, this is exactly why. Like, it's just absolute junk. Like, it's junk. So what happened with this car? I don't know. There's a bunch of speculation that somebody may have like committed arson and bombed his car, and it's the haters and all this type of shit. But for us, it's pretty obvious what happened.
Yep.
And it's become increasingly more obvious what happened, which is kind of the tie-in to Steve. Because like in our industry, so when I have a lot of conversations with these kids, it's like, this is their hobby, but this is my business. So for something like that to have happened to me as a customer's car, that's like my absolute worst nightmare.
Wow.
Which is why we bring somebody like Steve in, because I can almost, in my entire career, 90% of the time, something you see broken down on the side of the road, it's either wiring or it's plumbing. Like once in a while, there's, mechanical failures, but 90% of the time, it's a wiring issue. So we just don't mess with it anymore at all. So that's why we have Steve do what we do. And then the other side of it is like, those guys are the guys that are bad for our industry and bad for the car community, because they see those guys broken down all the time and it's nothing but problems. So the association to custom cars and custom car culture is like, that shit's all junk. And whereas like we've dedicated our lives to try to make stuff as good as we possibly can so that people can reliably enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I would say the very final line of all of that is the wiring. Like, it's always that, like, that's the final stage, because if it's going to give you problems, but everybody cheats it. Like, I see beautiful cars, and then you go to a car show, you pop the hood, and it's rainbow spaghetti everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to spend 25 grand on your motor, but you can't take it the rest of the way, and it'll ruin the whole build. Because when I see that, I just assume the rest of the car is junk too. Like right away, I just dismiss it. Like, and I've had like not even a half a block away from our shop, we had a car show. Same guy's got an LSX, blah blah blah. What happens? 45 minutes later, thing's on fire in the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
Yeah, burned down a Blazer right here. It's like,
no.
But you'll spend money on wheels. You'll spend money on seats, stereos, all this. But you can't put some money into like proper clean wiring. Which, again, like I say, it works the opposite, too. I look in and I see nice, clean wiring. Right away, I was like, oh, this is legit.
Yeah.
But this other stuff, it's a nightmare.
And there's two sides of that, too. I've worked on countless cars where people have spent good money on wiring and had it done by some other shops, but the guy is a fabricator. So the shops now said, hey, I need you to wire this car. He doesn't want to do the wiring. So now the shops charge this client a bunch of money to wire this car, and you get a crap product, and the guy spent tons of money on a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
And so that's the other side of it too, is that like, even if the guy didn't cheap out on the wiring, some shops just shouldn't be doing it.
Well, that's just it. That's it's misplaced designation of
right. Like, it's just like, you guys now wasted this guy's money. Like I've been doing wiring now for 8 years full time.
Wow.
And from being a mechanic in the custom car world beforehand and being a dealership mechanic before that. And it's taken almost the whole 8 years for me now to be on the front edge of the projects, instead of people calling me after the car's done and having problems, and for me to go in there and go, I have to rewire this thing because this is garbage. for me to now have the shops call me in as the cars are getting built to actually put out a better product for their client at the end of the day. Because like that's what it comes down to is like do you want to waste this client's money, or do you actually want to put something out? Because at the end of the day, like if you built a $500,000 car for a guy and it won't start, what did you build him?
Yeah, it's junk.
It's junk. Yeah. The whole car's junk. No matter, I don't care how nice the paint job and the interior is. If the thing won't start, run down the road, it doesn't matter how nice the car is.
Plus, if you can get in on the front end of it, like we always bring, like this morning, we had a conversation about some of our projects that we're about to jump off, so that I can integrate what he needs to do into my planning as far as schedule, how we're going to build panels, what we need to hide, where we're going to place, all that kind of stuff. So it just makes the entire project a lot better. Because if you do it as though, like you see a lot of stuff, it's like an afterthought. It's like we built this crazy roller and then now we got to jam a bunch of wiring on it and it looks terrible.
You gotta bring me into the bring a good wiring guy into the planning right when you start a project.
Wow. Okay.
Because like you're gonna think about all the big whizzy stuff at the beginning. Like I want this chassis, this engine, this color paint, all this stuff, and then but you don't think about how any of that stuff work. Like and then like don't bring me in when the car's painted and assembled. Because now I had to lean over a brand new freshly painted car. Like now where are we gonna mount the fuse box? Where are we gonna mount this? I'm like now I have to drill holes in your nicely painted car. And like that's not the time to be adding the wiring. The wiring should have been thought about when the car was in bare steel.
That's
like,
so good to know.
Where is this going to be actually mounted to? Like where are you going to run the wires through?
Because then you can do proper studs, mounting brackets, all kinds of things, and then it looks proper. Like you go look under the dash and you see a nice ECU mounted. It looks like it belongs there. It's easy to do in the front end, and rather than the backside, it's like now you're drilling in a firewall that's painted, and you got your carpet in there. Now you got steel shavings in your carpet, and you burn something, scratch something. It's like it's not good. Like it's probably the least respected part of any build, because everybody thinks they can do it. And technically you can,
if you have some patience, you can do it.
They just some people shouldn't because it's like every build, it's like when you get to the point where you're going to start wiring it, you're like 90% in. So most people rush that last 10%.
It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get it running.
And then that's when the mistakes are made.
Absolutely. It's always the last thing that goes into most car projects is the wiring. And it's the part that, like you said, mostly gets rushed. And just slap it together. Does it start and run? Okay, we're good to go. Just leave it. It'll be fine. And then it never go back.
Then it's not fine.
It's not fine because it will leave you stranded somewhere.
Anytime you see is because people didn't take the time to learn how to do it properly.
And I think it's a disrespect.
Over to like the whole topic that we're intended on talking about today is like they didn't learn how to weld properly. They didn't learn how to, I wouldn't say fully engineer something, but they don't even understand the most basic premise of engineering something. So they're making weak, bad welds, bad wiring, bad plumbing, and then just because they've created some goofy aesthetic or what looks like a car, I'm immediately supposed to respect it. I don't respect that, and it doesn't cross over to any other industry or nothing else. Like you're not going to say that about a plumber that comes to your house. Like I respect your effort now that my basement's I don't respect it. Like, just so because funny. You try it doesn't mean I should immediately. Aim for effort. Like my house burnt to the ground because you told me you could put my ceiling fan in. No, it doesn't cross over to anything else. But for whatever reason in car culture, just because you try, I got to respect you. No, try getting good at all these different things before you go head out on the road.
You should not be awarded just for participation.
Like it's not like that. It's, and then because you're broken down on the side of the road and your wheel flew off, I got a customer that's like, hey, is this going to be okay? Is the wheel going to fall off? Like, what? Why would the wheel fall off? It's like, well, I saw a video. It's like, like, no, that's not part of what we do here. Like, we've worked so hard to try to make reliable and it's like, you got these kids doing it, and then they're getting mad. Like, you're bad for the car community. Like, why? Because I don't immediately accept you for what you did? Like, it's all cool until you kill somebody.
That's the thing, and we were talking about this the other day. It's like there's a hardcore disrespect to the engineering that goes into building cars in every level, and if some jack, just, DIYs it without even respecting what it took to even make that, and now they call themselves a builder or whatever.
And what's worse is these guys
That's freaking dangerous, man. You're taking
That's
people's
very,
lives
very
into your
dangerous.
hands.
go and start a business.
Yeah. Did you see the guys weld? The RX-8 guys
Okay.
weld?
Man,
I can't tell for
those
sure.
were not welds.
I have not seen it.
Oh my
Dude.
god.
Okay, this guy tried welding an aluminum clevis
Let me see if I have a picture.
coilover to a steel control arm.
It was bad.
What?
Yes,
I never saw
swear
this
to God,
shit.
It was
aluminum.
bad.
This can't even bother, man. It's like seeing a Moret underneath the dash. Like as soon as you see the one thing, you're just like, Psh, no.
And that's the issue is that and we only ever see what people post online.
Yeah, right.
Like we never see any other part of it. Like,
Isn't that supposed to be the highlight reel too?
True.
Well,
It is
see,
right?
supposed to be it.
Like I had,
I want to see people's
can't
failures.
find it.
I want to see you try something. I want to see you go through the steps and processes.
I
of
respect
actually-
people putting
Yes.
the effort into making,
Yes.
but at least try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out there and I make a bunch of mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn. Like, and if you want to learn how to weld, go and try it. Go buy a welder. Go stick metal together.
Yeah.
Go figure it out.
but you should be able to figure it out because you have plenty of reference.
Resources
There's
are
a
not
if you
on
look at it
it.
and you're at home
Yeah.
putting bird shit all over your car, and then you should be able to look and be like,
You should be-
why doesn't mine look like that?
If it doesn't look like that, figure out why it doesn't
Exactly.
look like that.
Yeah.
And keep
So
learning.
like that's that's the ignorance of that whole thing. It's like, oh, it sticks, and it's
Yeah.
like in that particular
No.
instance with this guy's car,
Yeah.
it's like he just put enough
To
gobby
make it-
weld on there that it actually just wedged the piece
Yes,
in there.
yeah.
It wasn't actually physically attached,
No.
and you can tell that like under compression, it's jammed in there, it's trapped, it's captured.
Yeah.
but.
And
What
he,
about
like,
on droop?
like-
you hit
yeah.
a bump, that
Yeah,
thing's
it
coming out, and
flies
you're
off
killing
and
somebody.
kills someone,
And then it's
yeah.
like, oh, these cars have never hurt anybody. Why are you hating? It's like, well, luckily they're so that we've only ever seen them pushed in and out of parking lots. We've never actually seen them go down the road.
Yeah.
So that's the only saving grace. But what do? We got to wait until they do kill somebody, and then
And
what?
then speak
Pretend
about
that
it?
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, like, well, we better ban
Act
this
like
now.
the victim because
Like, we
they
can all
got
see this shit and it's dangerous. So like, it's ridiculous. Like these. Oh.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those
Feels
funny
good so
things when there's no
gets fired up.
like when we don't have a lot of even rules and regulations, even when it comes to like the legality of driving something like that on the street. Like
Yeah.
you can pretty much build whatever the hell you want it
And
to,
drive, yeah.
and put it on the road. If somebody were to sign off on your inspection,
right?
In the States, you don't even have to get inspected. Like you
Yeah.
can build almost whatever. If
Yeah,
you're,
but it
like,
just it,
Yeah.
like they're talking about how it's like, oh, you're bad for the community. How am I bad for the community? These kids are out here getting VIs and acting like the cops are out to
Yeah,
get them.
yeah.
Like the cops aren't going to get you. You built garbage.
Yeah.
They see
and
it.
then now you're getting VIs, and then these cops are uneducated. They don't know how to differentiate.
No.
So now they're pouring on all over my good guys.
And if you don't know what a VI is, we're in Canada. So VI is vehicle inspection.
Yeah, it's like a safety
Yeah.
vehicle inspection.
Yeah.
So now they just assume anything that has a shiny paint job and wheels on it is probably
It's
junk
automatically
too.
terrible.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
better send them for a VI, which is
Yeah.
not the case because we have customers that spend like a tremendous amount of money to make a good car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're constantly talking about overbuilding them because I don't want them coming back.
Best to overbuild than
So
under.
we make them as good as we possibly can, and then these guys go to try to like literally like the single, like the criteria always seems to be like, I want to take my kids for ice cream. I want to, grandkids. Like we build hot rods, and they're like, oh, I just want to take the grandkids for ice cream because they get a big kick out of it. But then now they go out and they get harassed by cops
Yeah.
because this guy over here's car is falling apart on the freeway, and then these guys are getting harassed. And these guys that spend real money, they do a nice job, and they want to just have something they can drive on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But instead, they're getting all these other problems, and it's just not fair.
Yeah.
So if anybody's bad for the community, is these
The guys that are,
like
yeah,
if
doing
you
that.
just left these guys alone, they're never broken down. They're never having problems. They're never doing burnouts. They're not crashing. Stuff's not falling apart. This is their pride and joy. If anything, these are what you want to base the community on.
Absolutely.
Not these clowns that are out caught like, I do it just to get hate. Well, you got hate now.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is that going back to this RX-8 guy is he's gained like almost 40,000 followers, over 40,000 followers just from
But what
this
do you do with it
incident.
now?
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Like he can't even pop his head back up
Yeah.
because now we all know
Yeah.
it's just janky wiring that burned his car to the ground. And another thing is like these don't hurt anybody, but how many videos have we all seen on
Yep.
Instagram, TikTok, all this shit of like just a car sitting in the garage and then boo,
Yeah.
catches fire, burns the whole house to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if your family's in there? Like, these
it's
guys are lucky enough that they got out, but what if that guy's car's parked next to yours and yours goes down too? You didn't even do anything. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah, so true.
It's like these cars are burning houses down, burning other people's cars down. Like, it's, and for what? Because you wanted some
Clout?
disco lights on your car and you couldn't take an extra 20 minutes to do it properly. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We maybe like a lot of like, you guys are just old guys talking shit. You know what I mean? And 100%, that's probably the case. Like, it is, but that's from trial and error and experience and
Experience, that's
and learning what is best for business and what's best for our customers. So like, our best resource and our best advertising is our customers just out having a good time with their cars and never breaking down.
Exactly.
Like, we like going to car shows, and like, I can't get out to all these events all the time, but these guys are at show and shines and field meets and all this kind of stuff, and that's where all of our work comes from. Like, oh, I talked to this guy, it looks tremendous, like, can you do that to my car? I don't do any other kind of advertising. I let these guys do it for us. And the single biggest best advertising is reliability.
Yes.
Yep.
I honestly think it's almost part of the experience or of like owning an older car is having problems.
Well,
It's like
people
part
people
of
do
the-
say that, and a lot of people live by that. I say that's bull.
You can build a classic car, hot rod, whatever you want to build, and have it be as reliable as any brand new modern car.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse for it otherwise. Like,
We've had people in the past that are like, that's hot rodding.
Yeah,
Like, that's not
being
hot
broken
rodding for
down
me.
on the side of the road. That's hot rod. Like, nah, man.
You probably knew that was a problem.
Yep.
You're just hoping, and then you're going to act surprised when it leaves you on the side of the road.
Alternator.
Because they'll call and be like, hey, can you bring me alternator?
Yeah.
Like, you already knew what the problem was. You're just trying to cheat it.
yeah.
The little that I've done in my
Yeah.
short car working on phase, but I didn't know any of this stuff. Now I was just like, oh, you just put an LS in a car and just wire it up, and I thought it was gonna be easy, but no.
Like, yeah, you can like fudge together an LS
Yeah.
swap pretty quickly. Like, I know there's guys out there who like will modify your harness for a couple $100, and where they just grab all the ignition powers and jam them all into one relay, and yeah, the car will start and run and drive. But is it nice? Is it how it should be?
Does
No,
it function
absolutely
properly?
not.
No.
Yeah, it's not the right way to do it.
Yeah. And so if someone like has a hack job, for example,
Yeah.
and brings it to you and it's like, oh, I'm having wiring problems, or
I
do
have-
you like, how do you handle that? Do you just be like, take everything off and rewire the whole
I have
thing?
some unwritten rules. If I see one Scotch lock, one Moret under a dash of a car, I'll automatically say the car's got to get rewired because
Okay.
because at the end of the day, if you chose that to do one connection with, that means I can't trust any other thing
other
connected to the
thing.
car.
Okay.
Because like that's the lowest standard of anything. So that's what you chose to do that part with. Now I can't trust the rest of it.
Yeah.
So like what? Like, and if I'm gonna fix something in your car, then I'm now married to it.
Yeah.
Because now
If anything happens
if anything
or
else
goes
happens,
wrong,
right?
they
So
come
like
back
I'm
to
like,
you.
no, I won't. It's way easier for me to come in and rip all the wiring out of your car and rewire it than for me to fix your garbage wiring that you called me for to start.
It's faster.
It's
Yeah.
way faster.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
way
would say
faster.
it's faster.
Interesting.
Because I can gut a whole car in half a day, no matter what kind of car it is. I gut every piece of wire out of that car in half a day, and then depending on what kind of car it is, I can have it back up and running. Like if it's a normal basic kind of carbureted street rod kind of thing, 40, 50 hours, car is completely rewired, everything's brand new, all the connections are new, all the
Wow.
wires new.
Yeah.
So like, why would you bother doing anything else?
That's pretty cool, actually.
So in the time that we've been doing stuff with Steve, like a testament to his, I've never had anything come back.
Okay, that's
Not one time.
That's cool.
So I mean, that's like for me, like again, as a business, is like that just helps me sleep at night. Like I
Yeah.
don't even need to worry about it. And in any time that I ever had any kind of an issue, I wouldn't say that I've had an issue, but if I've had a question because the components failed or something like that, when I've reached out and asked a question, he knows exactly what he did and where
Oh,
it is
that's
and
cool.
where I can start looking.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm not even going to start tearing the car apart
Nope.
before I ask the question like, hey, what did you do with this? Like, oh, you're going to want to check here and make sure that this is still good. And then maybe have a look at your component if that's bad. So I'll go dig in like, oh, yeah, it was relayed. No problem. We're good. We're on your way again. Because it's been planned out methodically, start to finish. So when I'm troubleshooting things, it makes it super easy. Because anytime I've ever seen any problems, because we do a lot of upholstery work, so we get a lot of really janky shit in the shop.
Yeah.
Like that other people have done that are like, I'm a stereo guy, so I wired a whole car and it's terrible.
that's a whole nother
So like he touched on a
conversation.
couple of things.
Stereo guy.
Yeah, he touched on a couple of things that are
Builds, you
actually
say?
they're actually automotive related, like a Scotch lock.
Yeah.
Like that's an automotive product.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
worst. Like if you
Yeah.
want something, like just even the premise of how it works, it's like a little guillotine. So 90% of the time, instead of tapping your wire, it just cuts your wire in half
Yeah.
and leaves you stranded.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff I've seen, I can't even imagine. Like you're gonna have to tell us some stuff that he's like we've had extension cords
Yep.
uses wiring.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like lamp cable,
Yep.
speaker
Oh.
wire used for power and grounds, like all this wild stuff, and it's like. Right away, again, I just dismissed the whole bill. Like, oh, if this is acceptable to you, then the rest of it's probably junk too.
Yeah.
That's the issue, is that there's no shortage of garbage product out there for the wiring. And I'm sorry to pick on stereo guys, but the stereo side of the wiring part of the automotive stuff is all crap. Like all those connections, all that wire, it's all garbage. I'm sorry. Like all these guys with the oxygen free copper, it's all garbage cable. I'm sorry. You don't see that stuff in a factory vehicle. Factory uses pretty much a TXL style wire in pretty much everything they build because it's good. It's got a thin jacket on it. It's got decent copper in it that's flexible. It's such a, there's nothing I hate worse than going like, oh, I ran all my battery cables with the stereo stuff. Or
Sorry to interrupt you there, but like, what is the difference between? Because I've heard a lot of times it's called like stereo wire or speaker wire. So what's the difference between using that versus like automotive wiring and all of that stuff? Is there like moisture resistance?
A lot of it comes down to the jacket. The jacket on like what the stereo guys use for their install wire, they call it pretty much, is like this like PVC coating that has zero heat resistance. So you'll see guys put it in their engine base, like wire their alternator, their choke, and literally the jacket will melt off of it sitting on an engine.
Wow.
Like it is such garbage low quality that like, but like if you go to the local parts store, that's what you buy. You buy this generic hookup wire that really shouldn't be in anything. And honestly, at the end of the day, the wire is the cheapest part. Like you can go online and find TXL wire for dirt cheap. Wire is always going to be the cheapest part of any part of the wiring project. I don't care what it is. Even if you're buying high grade aircraft quality wire, the wire is always going to be the cheapest, no matter what. So just spend the money on the better
But it doesn't
wire.
come in whizzy colors.
It does come in wizzy colors. It comes in all the wizziest colors.
So that's the criteria. It has to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to
awesome
be like
colors.
transparent,
the
like
rainbow.
blue and
Yeah,
red. and-
Yeah.
I think the significance of it is it's just that it's super pliable. So when you're just running it under the carpet, it'll
Sure.
weave around and do
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. Whereas like the better stuff might not be as. That's where more planning needs to come in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with your build, Rob, your full race car Datsun 240Z, like what are you gonna do with regarding wiring? Are you also gonna use?
Oh,
to-
I'm just gonna get Steve to come in and be like, "Hey, this is what we need to do, and I need you to build it like this so that I can do that." And why
It'll
would I
come
do
down
it
to-
any other way?
Yeah, it'll come down to planning. We're gonna find a spot for the electronics in the car. They're gonna
Yeah.
be there, and
Yeah.
there'll be a specific spot for the electronics for the engine part of it. There'll be a chassis wiring part of the setup, and
Yeah,
so-
and my car is going to be, probably more akin to what Steve's typically working on.
More of a race
little
car
bit more race car-ish,
Okay.
right? Like all exposed. Everything's going to be, I want you to actually see it.
Yeah.
Because
I love that
I
part.
think that is super cool. Nothing is better than seeing all your lines paralleling, looking beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that's what I want, and that's how my car is going to be.
totally
It's
enjoy doing
different.
that type
It's
of work.
different than like a factory car. You still want to run it all nice and do all that because that makes sense.
yeah.
But there,
You
it
can
won't
get
be.
away
It
with
won't
a
be.
lot when you hide a bunch of wiring in your loom. Like
Yeah.
if you're running like braided or split plastic loom, whatever you're going to put what you cover your wiring up with, you can like rip apart any aftermarket engine harness and just have a look to see how they've got it bundled all together underneath the loom.
Yeah.
The loom hides all sorts of atrocities underneath of it. Like you can once you cover it in braided loom, you can't see what's going on underneath
Yeah.
it. You don't know how they got the splices going. You don't know where any of that stuff is. And so like I see a lot of that stuff just get, we'll just wrap it in a bunch of tape and loom, and then no one will see how bad the
Yeah.
wire is, right?
Yeah.
Like
Nobody's gonna
That's
know.
what I mean. Oh, it's covered in loom. It's all good to go. Like,
Yeah.
there can still be garbage under the loom.
Yeah, he's taking brand new harnesses apart right out of the box.
Oh,
I do.
Shoot.
I do.
What?
I
Interesting. Okay.
I work a lot with like Holley ECUs for a lot of the drag car stuff and street car stuff that I work on. And while I believe the Holley makes a decent computer for most project cars out there for the domestic stuff, their wiring harness is a piece of crap at the end of the day. It's absolutely garbage. If you take the loom off of that thing, you'll see some of the worst. Like
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, if I get one and somebody's bought a pre-made harness from them, I'll basically open the box, cut the plugs off, rip all the loom off of it, all the tape, comb it all out nicely, and route it the way that I want it to be in the car. Because at the end of the day, they have one engine harness that's like their universal harness that's supposed to fit all the engines.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be on a big block, a small block Ford, a Coyote, an LS.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit anything nicely. So if you were to buy it for your LS, the injector harness doesn't fit the actual engine. You have to stretch the wires out to make them even connect.
Yeah.
It is like it's a basic harness that doesn't actually do anything really well. And
Yeah, it's just like an all-purpose, like supposed
That's
to
like
do
one of
all,
the
but it
biggest-
doesn't do it well.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest aesthetic sort of features on any of our stuff that we do is like most people comment on what's not. No, they don't even know. Like they don't even understand what they're looking at.
Yeah.
But 90% of why it looks so good is because of what's not there.
yeah.
It's like we
that
take
is-
away more stuff than add stuff. So like the
simplicity is a huge part of it.
simplicity is so hard.
Yeah.
That should be on a shirt.
It should. And then like to do the wiring, like the wiring is like you don't want to hide everything that he's doing, but when it's nice and neat and tidy and it's perfect and it's not obtrusive and it disappears, that's what creates the aesthetic that makes people go, holy like you don't even need 1,000 horsepower motor. You just have a nice, clean, tight LS with the wiring is perfect. People like the last one that he did for us, the Chevelle, like looked like a show car under
it
the
looked
hood.
so good.
But it's not because we added a bunch of expensive shit. It's just because the plumbing and the wiring was so tidy that it looks mint. Like it makes it so much better. Whereas you do that and you put a bunch of rainbow spaghetti in there and it's just it looks
You know, and
terrible.
we don't just do that kind of stuff just for the aesthetics of it. Like you
it's
do it
function.
because it makes sense.
It makes it better.
It's functional and it's safe and it works.
Like I don't know how many times I've got under a dash and found all the extra like he'll take the time to pair all the wires, like unnecessary stuff for features that come and you don't use it. So you get rid of all that stuff.
Yep.
Whereas I've gone underneath a dash and found like 8 wraps of wire like zip tied up in the corner. And it's for like power windows or AC or all this
That's
wild
very
shit.
And that comes down to the planning of the project.
But just get rid of it. Clean it out.
Like if this car's never going to have power windows or air conditioning or any of that stuff, pull it out. Like yes, absolutely leave a couple wires in the harness for if you might add something in
the future. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like don't leave 10 extra circuits in the harness that don't need to be there because all it's going to do is make a mess under the dash. Because what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Just tie it up in a ball with a zap strap and leave it under there?
And they always leave it open-ended.
Open-ended, and then they leave and they'll leave the fuse in the middle.
Yeah.
And they leave it live.
So you got 8 powered wires up underneath the dash and it's just...
You reach up there to try to grab something that's arcing out of the dash.
And that's like one of the most common things that I see.
Yep.
Crazy.
The biggest problem I see with those big spaghetti balls under the dash are
Spaghetti balls.
is how people plan. Like most people plan wiring differently than I think the kind of better wiring guys do it.
So basically, what's your methodology for planning?
You have to take the whole car into consideration.
Okay.
Front to back. So before I even put a wire in a car at all, I'll probably spend 2 days mapping out where everything's going to sit, plan it all out, so I know that like when I start from the fuse box, I'm going to have all the wires that are going to go front or back of the car with that setup. So like I'm thinking of the car as a whole. So I'm like, if I know in the front I got fans and controllers and stuff up there, all that stuff, all those wires are going to start from where they need to and get out to that point, not where I see the biggest problem is the guy's going to go, okay, I'm going to wire the headlights today.
Okay.
I'm going to wire the fans today. I'm going to wire the fuel pump today. I'm going to wire this today. And then what you end up doing is you end up stacking wires on top of wires on top of wires. And then you end up filling up the whole dash with a bunch of stuff that didn't need to be there because you've done it all in groups and clusters instead of just as a car as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's what I find the biggest mistake that guys make when they're wiring their cars. But again, it takes a lot of planning to do the other way.
Yeah.
But I think the planning is completely worth it because you end up with a way nicer install at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so for like in the planning stages, do you end up writing down? So for example, if there's, for example, a car that has a car that was built, maybe you wired it for the shop, and then 5 years later there's a wiring issue or something. Do you have the records for all the builds that you do?
No. Some of them, yes. Some of the more high-end race car stuff, I have a full build sheet for. But at the end of the day, I wire all the cars the same.
Oh, okay.
So, and when it comes to the street rod kind of stuff, everyone pretty much uses a GM-based fuse box.
Yeah.
And typically the color code's all the same.
Yeah, the pink and
Yeah, pink is your ignition, red is your hot, like purple is your starter lead. Like, and that stuff doesn't change on any of those kind of aftermarket wiring kits.
Oh, interesting.
So you leave that stuff alone. Leave it the colors. That's the thing. Another huge pet peeve of mine is why change the color?
Yeah.
they ran out of wires.
It's black for everything.
Sorry, I've worked on some
white,
wires,
like an aircraft.
Black for everything.
and I'm fine with that. Like, even if you used all black wire and just labeled it nicely, I wouldn't even have a problem with that. What I hate is when you go on your dash and you start like, okay, I see the wire at the switch is red. And then at the back of the car, it's blue, but in between it changed from yellow, green, and pink. Because,
Maybe they ran out of
because
wire.
all you had was 3-foot chunks of wire to add together, and there's like now you got 8 butt splices all the way along.
The record in the shop, and I think Rob was here for it, within, I'd say, a 3-foot span of wire.
Okay.
It changed color 7 times.
Right?
3 feet.
And then I asked, I was like, what the hell is this? And he's like, oh, he said that's all that he had in stock.
Right?
Like, what? 3
so
feet?
you have like half a foot of each.
Yeah, like literally just like, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And so like
so
that's the most
funny.
annoying part is that like so you start at the switch and go, hey, I got the red wire, and then so now you're looking for the red wire in the back of the car, and like there's no red wire back here. Where's this wire even go? So now you got to chase the whole thing through the car to try to figure out where it went wrong, and then you end up finding all these horrible splice connections all the way along.
Yeah,
Like,
we talked about that before, like how you
I try
you
to
know
go-
your colors.
I know
and
my
you do
colors.
it the same
Yeah.
all the time, and that I found that to be like super cool.
The race cars is especially particular that way. In
Yeah.
the way that like if some guy's down in Texas or Georgia down for a big race event, he calls me up, his trans brake's not working. I'm like, okay. From the switch, it is dark blue. It runs from dark blue to the switch to the relay panel. It's dark blue from there out to the trans brake.
Nice.
It doesn't change color.
That's cool.
That's
They're-
awesome, dude.
Because these guys only have a certain amount of time in between rounds to get the car fixed. I have to be able to walk them through quick enough that they can actually sort it out. So in like a lot of these guys' cars, I'll make them super basic, generic relays. Like I know everyone wants to run whizzy PDMs and things.
Yeah.
But in the day you're at the racetrack and a PDM fails, you're done for the weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
You throw it in the garbage and you spend another $2,000 on another one because you can't fix them.
Right.
But if you just wire it with generic relays for a lot of these sportsman guys, you can go to any parts store anywhere and buy another 5-pin relay.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
those that
So
don't know,
true.
what's a PDM?
It's a power distribution module.
Yeah.
So it's
Like
a
solid state.
solid state relays.
So
they're
you
all
don't
built
need
in.
all the like
Exact
relays and
individual
all that you
relays.
run to.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool. Yeah, I've
which
seen
are
some of
which
those
are
and they look
fantastic products,
sick.
but they take again the client has to learn the software, has to learn
Yeah.
to program it. That's
It's
a
a
lot of
learning
stuff. And at the end of the day, a lot of these older drag race guys simply don't.
They're just
wanna-
not into it.
They're not into learning it, but they
They got
can-
flip phones and $500,000 race
Exactly.
cars.
Yeah. So for them, I can walk them through changing the relay out, but I wouldn't be able to teach them the software.
Yeah.
They simply won't want to learn.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so true. Such a different world. Very important, I think.
Extremely,
Like,
yeah.
Like in that world, I mean, time is everything.
Yeah.
You know, in the hot rod world, of course, we're going to want to use a PDM.
Yep.
Because it's super tidy.
Yep.
You know, and
They're
yeah, it just makes
fantastic,
sense.
wonderful
Packaging
products.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Is that what you used on your Evo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, we'd have the
But,
time
not-
we'd have the time to learn the software and do all that. And
And if my car, if it goes bad, I'm not out
No.
a 20 grand race weekend.
Whoa.
yeah, you see, it's an
Yeah.
entirely
travel
different world.
time
but
and all
yeah,
this kind of
super
stuff.
important.
Like it's fine for that. And
I've had guys drive to Florida and then their car won't start
Oh,
because of a
no.
wiring problem or something like that. And then
Yeah.
Oh,
they had some fancy solid state disconnect that maybe was a cheaper one, and now the car won't power up.
oh gosh.
And so you drove all the way to Florida, and then now your car doesn't start. Like what's like? I can't think of anything worse.
Oh
Like,
no.
and the
Fucking
worst thing
nightmare.
is there's nothing obvious.
No.
Like you can't.
No,
there's
you're gonna be like, oh, this relay is
Yeah,
bad.
like
Yeah.
you can't. There's not a burnt wire.
Yeah.
There's not like no sign. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's cooked.
Yeah.
So unless you're at the next level where you got 3 spares in the truck,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
the next phase. But in that respect, it's just like one plug and away you go. So then that's a whole nother game.
Yeah.
But that's who's got $10,000 worth of panels sitting around.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So in some cases, depending on the driver or the owner of the car,
Yep.
do you recommend any for like PDM versus relay for any?
It completely
customer,
depends
or-
who the customer is. And
Okay.
the customers that I have some clients who I'd absolutely trust running a PDM. because I know that they'll spend the time to actually do the research on how to do it. And these are typically the guys who will be tuning their own car. So the guys who are really comfortable with the EFI software or the data acquisition software. These guys who already know how to look through that kind of data. But a lot of the generic kind of racers, just give them a normal 5-pin relay and a basic switch, because that's what they understand.
Take this one out of here, put it in here.
Absolutely.
Does it work? Yes. Okay. Now you know it's bad. Go get another one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the client and the type of car that's being built. But
And what resource do you like if someone wants to learn wiring, but they want to because again, like some people might not have the budget to like hire
Absolutely.
someone.
I get it. Like,
what resources do you recommend? Because even on YouTube, there's some sketchy stuff. Like if you Google wiring, like there's anybody can just make a video on how to wire my car, and it's not good.
yeah,
And seeing this harkens back to why you don't respect all builds. Because the YouTube
would say-
universities not the greatest.
You guys want to add anything before we bring this to a close?
No, I think.
Yeah, I want to say, like, if you're gonna build something, put some effort into learning a little bit more about what
That's
you're doing. Like, you know, with regards to wiring and stuff like that. If you're gonna DIY your wiring, that's cool.
yeah.
Do your thing, but like at least respect like the wire gauge sizing.
Yes.
You know,
Figure
don't
out the current draw of the product
don't
you're gonna run.
overwhelm the system, and that's the wiring. It's the same for plumbing. It's the same for fabrication,
Welding,
like welding, all
aluminum
those
to
things.
steel.
Like,
No.
don't you're not gonna make a fucking control arm out of sheet metal.
Yeah.
You know, that's ridiculous. Like, just respect what you're trying to do, because
Yep.
it's really important, man.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
build
your
build
safety.
something with
Yeah.
some quality, and if you have to try it over and over and over
That's
again
fine.
To get
to
better.
do
Yeah.
the final result,
Yeah.
that's totally cool, man. That's part
more
of it, and
respectable
that's
than-
that's
Good.
what you're
That's
doing,
good.
Elvis,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's respectable, man.
Oh, thank you. Because I was listening to Matt Farah's podcast. What's it called? He was interviewing Stanceworks, the guy with the Ferrari Liberty Walk.
Yeah,
Ferrari
yeah.
Swap.
That's a dope car.
Yeah, and he was saying for his control arms, he made 30 of them at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they were not like as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
Or
And
he
that's-
just wanted to learn.
And that's what I feel is missing the most in the online stuff, is that you only ever see of people's finished product. And I want to see more of the progression of the product.
Yeah.
I want to see your version 1, version 2, version 10. I want to see all the different versions of it and see why you changed it. Why didn't that first one work? What was wrong
Yeah.
with that one? I'm way more interested in that part of the build when it comes to that type of stuff than the actual finished product.
Start to finish, yeah.
Yeah, like because like, at the end of the day, like for me especially, like once I go to the track with the client and see the car run down the track, I'm kind of like I'm emotionally done with that car like, when it comes to it. And so like I know my stuff's worked, I know it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but I've enjoyed the process of actually going through and building the car. Like I enjoy the project way more than I enjoy the
Yeah,
finished
yeah.
product.
And that pretty much
Yeah.
is why we all, are here at this table and do what we do.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big part of it. So I like that too. I like to see the progress.
Why did you make that
evolving.
choice?
You know, this one turned out like crap, and it seems to be probably this is why. Let's try again.
Yeah.
And just keep doing that. If you're going to be a content creator, do that.
That's what I mean.
good.
I want to see your mistakes. I want to see you.
We
learn and
all
grow.
started from somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember my first wiring project. I bought a hot rod that was a hunk of crap, and I spent I think I was 18 the first time I rewired a car from scratch,
Wow.
completely end to end.
Oh my gosh.
And I bought I think a time a painless kit.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
And
Are painless kits good?
there,
No. But they were like the standard,
yes and
off
no.
the shelf for a
They
little
were
while.
the first ones to jump it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've had a huge amount of evolution since they have. So there is better stuff
so-
available.
No,
Yeah.
I worked with a painless kit a couple weeks ago on a square body C10, and I will honestly say the product has come a long way.
Is that right?
Since
Yeah.
I probably haven't used one for 6 years, and I'll honestly say it's more comparable to say an American Auto Wire, where it's got
See, that's
Yeah.
the
more-
stuff that we
yeah.
sort of progressed from painless to American Auto Wire. And I've just stayed there because I have no reason to change it.
There's no reason to change it because, like, when you buy a kit from American Auto Wire, there are things about their stuff that I don't like. Again, I'll cut every single plug off as it shows up and redo it how I want to do it. But the painless stuff, it was always like half a harness. Like it was a fuse box with some wires hanging out of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's it. Like, so there was no, like, all you get was like the power from the fuse box to the switch.
Yeah.
But now where's from the switch to the actual motor or whatever you're trying to turn on? That part didn't exist in those harnesses.
Yeah.
But they were cheap. They were $300, whatever they were back in the day. And yes, it was a good start of a harness.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't an entire wiring kit.
Yeah.
And there's not really, like, even with the American Automotive one, it's still not the entire thing. You're still going to add stuff. You're still like, there's no be all end all wiring kit for these project cars. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I would like there to be better product out there, but it's such a big open market that it's almost impossible to make something. Where like every car is going to have a bunch of different wiring needs that somebody making a kit's never going to be able to build.
Yeah.
Like, is it getting EFI? How many fans does it have?
Right.
Like there's only so many circuits you can put into that old school GM fuse box.
Especially what we're doing now, because there's so much retrofitting and stuff.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
these old cars are getting everything that a new car has.
Yeah.
So like, how do you plan for that?
That's just it. Like the car I'm doing right now has a blown LS3 in it, and every part of the sheet metal is customized.
Yeah.
So nothing off the shelf is ever going to go into this thing.
No.
It's got a full custom gauge cluster. So it's got heated and power seats. It's got power windows. It's got air conditioning. It's got 2 intercooler pumps, 2 intercooler fans, 2 radiator fans. I'm trying to think. Like I calculated it all up. It's got C6 Corvette door latches, so it's got relays for
the
doing all
electronic
that.
ones.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I've counted. So I got 20 relays so far that this car needs to just function. Right.
Wow.
It is a giant wiring task.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so now it's a Nova, which are not very big cars to start with. Where do I put it all?
Yeah, I mean, packaging is a big part of it already.
Yeah, so like underneath the dash already has the Hydro Boost setup. It has the big vintage air setup. Where's the wiring go?
Where are you going to put all that other
Right.
stuff?
So the wiring, so the fuse box is in the trunk of this car.
Yeah.
So I'm having little clusters of fuse boxes kind of spread throughout the car.
Yeah.
Because that's
Clusters of
You know, and this comes back like when we were originally talking about how like project planning
Yeah.
in the onset of your project
Yeah.
to know where every single piece of componentry is in the car.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to build a harness with 20 plus circuits in a really small compact car, essentially?
Yeah.
You know, without
So
knowing all that
we've had to
information, otherwise
create
it's
false
a disaster.
floors and little compartments to be able to put the stuff in places. Like, I don't want to put the computer in the trunk of the car for the LS. I want to have it as close to the engine as possible. I don't want to make a 20-foot engine harness because one, how am I going to run it through the inside of the car and have it run away from the rest of the wiring so that the guy's got a big stereo in this car, which is going to get.
Yeah.
I want to keep it away from all the stereo wiring. Like, I don't want any of the RFI to come potentially go into this guy's setup. So it's
That's some of that, like, you know, respect what it takes to do that kind of stuff. Because what you're talking about there, like keeping them separate and stuff like that, that's a whole nother podcast.
Absolutely.
You could deep dive and go super nerd into that because, I mean, you know, we pick your brain on occasion for this kind of stuff, but you're like next level, dude. So that's important shit to
And
consider.
then our next one is like our conversation this morning with these EV builds is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's like EMF interference and
Right.
CAN bus stuff. And like, that's like, now I feel like I'm building a spaceship.
like mind blown. Like, who thinks about that? Like, what?
And I have to and it's part of my job that like
Right.
I spend many evenings just researching CAN bus protocols,
Mm-hmm,
how to create these channels,
gosh.
how to. Like, I love nerding out on this stuff because it's enjoyable for me, and I know it's like stuff that like the client's never going to think about.
Yeah.
but it's
And it really shouldn't have to.
no, the client should have to. No, that is why I'm hired to do this.
Exactly.
because It's a reason why I have a job.
Right.
Like and I love it. I love that I get to work on weird stuff like this because it's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I love that I work with so many different shops that all do something a bit differently.
things,
Because if I just did drag cars all the time, I'd get bored out of my mind. Like,
Right.
yes, it's fun to work on a $500,000 Pro Mod once in a while, but if I had a stretch where I did those for a solid year and I got bored of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's cool,
And that's
but-
crazy to imagine that.
yeah, it is weird to imagine like you get bored of a 5,000 horsepower car,
Yeah.
but you do.
What?
Because like they're very basic when it comes to a lot of the stuff, and I'm like, they're not complicated after.
Yeah.
that. I was like, okay, I need to do something a bit more weird and different.
Yeah.
And,
You need to like you know, let your brain do some work.
yeah,
We got you covered.
exactly.
We got you.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, let's level up.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything else?
Oh, I think we're good.
Thank
was a
you
good
guys
chat.
so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, please. And if you also liked it, give it a 5-star rating on podcasts platforms. And with that said, we will catch you guys next week. Bye.
Awesome.